Patrick here, have Cheeto Will View, and welcome to Dollar Theater. Dollar Theater is a ongoing series that was created by a good friend Josh Hobbs from Hobbs Horror, in which we watch and review movies that we have acquired for $1.25 or less. That could be Christmas presents, birthday presents, yard sales, anywhere where you can find a movie for $1.25 or less. Then come talk to us. Drop a review. So, yeah, we're getting back into things, in the swing of things. We had a really fun Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving and Christmas. A lot of family films and what have you. And we're still gearing up to get into some more interesting fare in terms of horror and thrillers. But I still wanted to sneak one by us before we go into that, and that is 2013's Monsters University. So I absolutely love Monsters, Inc. It's one of my very favorite films. It is probably my favorite Pixar film for sure. And it was absolutely a joy to watch. And I still can't watch that movie without losing my shit the last 5-10 minutes. I've watched that movie probably about 15 times, and every single time I lose it. So I didn't know what to expect from Monsters University. I know Disney and Pixar. Actually, when Pixar put Monsters Inc. out, it was still Pixar, and so they hadn't done any prequels yet or at that time, and then Disney wanted to do a sequel, but Pixar really wasn't feeling it. So Disney turned around and went to another company to see what they could do as far as making a sequel goes. Well, in between that and this, Disney bought Pixar. And so they came together and they said, well, okay, we'll do another Monsters movie, but this time we're going to do it set as a prequel. And that's an interesting, I'm not super hyped up on sequels myself, or especially prequels. Sequels are okay if they're done well. But prequels, yeah, because you already know how they got there, right? Well, that's actually why this makes Monsters University work, is because we don't know. All we know is that Mike and Sulley are a great scarer team, but we don't know how they got to be there. And so this movie actually makes sense in happening, and definitely worthwhile in watching. Now, this is really for a prequel. This is really fun, and it has homages to two major movies, which anybody who's over 18 or everybody who's over 30 will definitely figure this out. This is definitely a love affair and to both Animal House and also Revenge of the Nerds, because the script is pretty much. The story pretty much includes those two movies. Basically, kids want to, we meet Mike Wazowski while he's still in elementary school, and him and his class are on a field trip. They go to Monsters Inc., and they get to watch some of the scarers, and that's all Mike wants to be. Mike just wants to be a scarer so bad. That's his whole life ambition, and I guess you could actually put Rudy in this movie in that sense, because that's all he ever wants. He has no other goal in life other than to go to work for Monsters Inc. And to become a scarer. Sort of like how Rudy was fanatical about getting on Notre Dame and doing anything he could to get on the field for Notre Dame. So I guess you could put three movies here that Monsters University could remind you of. Well, he goes in there and Mike gets in there, and he's the smallest classmate. He's the smallest kid there, and he deliberately, I guess, he sneaks into a room with another scarer. And, of course, that causes totally, it's like, holy crow. But they go in there, the scarer does his business, and then he and Mike come out, and the scarer was really impressed with Mike, and the fact that he never saw him in the room. Mike was, he was very, very quiet. So that's a big plus for scares. She can't be seen. You gotta, that's the whole point, is to scare somebody. So, of course, the scare is not angry. He's like, wow, that's really impressive. And he gives him a hat, a Monsters Inc. hat. So then we advance years till Mike his first day at college at Monsters University. And so he comes in, he signs up, and he's going to be the most dedicated student there, and he really is. Initially, he was roommate with none other than Randall, the chameleon, the snake chameleon from the first movie, and at first, and then they have what they call scare games, and people are talking about that. Well, anyway, they're in class. Mike meets Sulley, and they don't like each other too much. And during the class event, the head dean of Monsters University is Abigail Hardwick, and she's legendary for the best scream ever recorded, ever. And so that's part of her legacy. And Mike and Sulley are fooling around, and they inadvertently break the scream bottle and releases her scream, her legacy. Obviously, not too happy about that. So she turns right around and she walks up to both of them and says, "You are both out of the scare program." Because of their shenanigans. Plus, she doesn't think that Mike has it in him to become scary. And quite honestly, Mike Wazowski is not scary at all. Obviously, if you've seen Monsters, Inc., and of course you've seen Monsters University, he's very lovable, he's very cute, he'd be a great squishmallow, but he's not scary. But he wants to be, and he's trying so hard. So they're out of the scare program. And so now it's back to just, now they're just students again. They actually basically have no direction. But then they see that the scare games are there, and if Mike and Sulley can put together a team, they could have a chance to win, to go back to the scare program, because that's the winning prize, is to, you win and then you're in the scare program. So they gather some oddballs, of course, right? They gather some oddballs. Nobody else wants them. They have their own small fraternity called OK, and there's only 4 of them until Mike and Sulley join the team. They have to have 6 in order to do the scare games. So they're nondescript. They're fun and they're cute, and the spider is really pretty dope, honestly. So that's what they do. They enter the scare games, and basically it's a process of elimination. If your team loses and you have to finish as a team, then you either advance together or you'll fall together. And so initially it looks like OK is out on the first out after the first contest, until they discovered that one of the other teams had cheated. So that buys them a little bit of time, and Mike starts going to work on getting Sulley to believe in the team, be a part of the team, and get the other guys to start believing in themselves. And sure enough, they start coming together, and they advance, surprisingly so. And and they're doing really well until the last round, and they're facing the big men on campus, the big monsters on campus. Roar, monster, roar. Yeah, right. Pretty. Yeah. So it looks promising for them, but Sulley, he comes and talks to, Hardwick, and Hardwick basically tells him, like, you've gotten them this far, but we both know that one of you is not a scarer. It's not going to ever happen for that person. And of course, they both know they're talking about Mike. He's just too nice of a guy. He's just not scary looking. He doesn't have the voice. He tries. He just doesn't have it. So the final contest sees that each team has to go in there one by one and scare and do a scare and fill up a tank. Not so easy, but they've been working really hard, and so sure enough, surprisingly so, OK is starting to it's hanging with the much better team. Roar, they're hanging with them. And one of the things they did was they put Mike being last. He was going to go first, but they thought, well, hell, if we put him first, we're going to be way behind before we even get going. So they say, hey, it'd be better off since you created a team and you're our leader. You should close this out. You're our closer. So Mike does that, and they go back and forth, and we see that Randall gets exposed by by Sulley's scream. Sulley's in one room and Randall's in the other, but Sulley's scream is so effective it causes Randall's room to shake, and he falls off the bed, and the child sees him, and he doesn't get a very good score, and then he slithers out and says, "That'll be the last time I lose to Sulley." Of course, that just sets the framework for what we saw in Monsters, Inc. So they come down to the last. The two leaders of the two teams, they're in, and the leader for Roar goes in there, and he has a great job, and he just he's hellified scared. He's scary. And so then Mike Wazowski goes in there, and he pulls off a miracle. He manages to scream the loudest, get the scared. I mean, he gets top scare. Not only does he get top scare, but he also pushes his team over to victory. So, wow, amazing. And so they all start celebrating their big win. And Sulley and Mike are walking toward the room. Mike still can't believe it. He cannot believe that he actually pulled this off. And he goes over there and he's like, how did this happen? And then he finds out he had a little help. Actually, he had a lot of help. And Sulley was acting out of kindness. It wasn't because he wanted to win. He just wanted his friend to succeed. And but Mike doesn't really want that. He wants to succeed on his own 2 feet, even though he hasn't realized yet that there's just some people, in any profession, there's just some people that, the desire to win doesn't always translate to the skill to win. It doesn't mean the person's any less for it. It's just that's how it is. Like, I couldn't go play NBA basketball being 5'8". I might want that. I can sit here and say, yeah, I want to do that, but in reality, not going to happen. So that causes the two friends to have a falling out, and the team, they don't want the trophy. They leave the trophy there, and then Sulley knows that he messed up, and so he goes in. He tells Hardwick, yeah, I helped him, and he says I do it again. Meanwhile, Sulley's, or Mike's, he's determined to prove himself. So he goes inside the door department where students are learning how to make doors for scares. And Mike goes into one. So he's entering our world because he wants to prove that he could be a scarer. Well, he's not supposed to go in there. It's unsafe. But he does. And, and Sulley follows him in. He follows him in. And now they're in our world, just like they were in the first movie. They're in our world. And Mike initially does not, he tries scaring the little girl there, and it doesn't work out at all. And worst of all is that he must have went inside of like a girls' school, because they're all girls about 10 or 11 years old, and they're not scared, or maybe 8 or 9 years old, but they're not scared of him at all. He's very cute. He's very cute. He's not scaring nobody. But Sulley comes in, and to get Mike, and then of course he throws down a scare, and they're all afraid. They're all scared. And of course, this makes because people are seeing them in our world. They're able to be spotted. They're not just spirits. They're solid. They're solid matter. The police are called, and so it looks like the boys are trapped. And as they're thinking about how the hell they're going to get out of this, they're going to get back to the door. They have to get back to the door in order to get out. And then Hardwick shuts down the door. She turns it off. And that, so I'm waiting until the authorities to get here. But I don't think she really realized what she was doing by trapping them in there. It's the fact that she left them in mortal danger. I mean, they could be hurt in the other world, in our world. So they go ahead and they try to keep ahead of the cops until Mike says, we can't outrun these people, but we sure as hell can scare them. And that's what they do. They come together with a plan to scare these adult police officers. And sure enough, they depending on their scares as a child to take place now as adults. And sure enough, and Sulley comes out with this massive roar, and they just like, if it was PG, if this movie was not G or PG, they could have showed some bricks falling, because that's really what the impression that you get. This sets a all-time record scare. I mean, the tanks are filling up. The door opens up on its own. It turns on by its own, and Sulley and Mike are able to burst out of it before the door explodes, and it ejects both of them. So they're pretty much banged up. And of course, then one of the highlights of the film comes when all of a sudden you see, because they have touched human artifacts, they have to get deloused, right? And of course, we all know what that means and who that means. And sure enough, here comes Roz. Always watching you, Masaski. Always watching. So she makes her appearance in the movie, and yeah, that was a highlight. And Hardwick tells them that while it was very, very impressive what they did and how they did that, unfortunately, they're both going to have to be they're ejected. They're expelled from the school, and so doesn't look good for the boys. Mike's probably going to go back home, and we don't know what Sulley's going to do. But they leave. They part as friends, and Sulley stops the bus with that Mike's on and says, "Hey, I got an idea. You're smart. You got all these plans together, and there's something that we should be able to do. What can we? This shouldn't be it." And then Mike says, "Well," he grabs the newspaper because they're on the cover of it, and he turns to the want ads and he says, "Monsters Inc. is always hiring in the mailroom." And so the movie ends with us seeing how Mike and Sulley advanced to where they were in Monsters Inc. They started out in the mailroom, they went to janitorial, then the kitchen, then soup line, and you see all the chores they went up to before they hit before they're acknowledged as scarers. And so that's where we leave the movie. I like this movie. I liked it a lot. I liked it a lot. Did I like it as much as the first one? That's sort of like, I do. I mean, I like the first one the best, obviously, because it had more heart. That's really the only thing I will say between the first and the second one, is the first one had heart, and that it came first. The second one was very well done. Very, very well done. The animation's great. The colors are fantastic. The story itself, yeah, it's not the best. It's pretty pedestrian, if you really ask me. But don't let that take you away from watching it, because it's a fun movie, and there are some fun laughs there. But like I said, you're going to be watching it, and you're going to be watching. You already know like half the plot's going to be. If you watch Revenge of the Nerds or Animal House, you get the idea. or any movie set on a college with one fraternity against the other. If you've seen one, you've seen it all. The voices were good. The voice actors were good. They brought back everybody except for James Colburn, who unfortunately passed away the year after Monsters Inc. came out. That James Colburn passed away after that. So they were going to bring his character into the movie. They even filmed it, but then they turned around and says, "No, we're just not going to do that." So they cut it out. But the rest of the cast is really strong. This is really, really just Billy Crystal's movie. Sulley and John Goodman, to somewhat of a lesser extent. This movie is basically more about Mike than it is anything else. It's his journey we're really following, and Billy Crystal puts on a great performance. I liked it. I thought it was really well done. It's just unfortunate. It's one of those things, like if there hadn't been if there hadn't been a movie before this movie probably would have rated a little bit higher. But Monsters Inc. did come out, and it's a better movie. It's a better movie. But like I said, Pixar, you really can't go wrong with Pixar. They're the best in the business. Even after they've been taken over by Disney, they still are the best in the business when it comes down to animation. I know Zootopia is like running away with it, but still, Pixar's are just still the better movie. This movie actually did really, really well. It was within the top 15 of 2013, and it made about $750 million. Probably more since then, probably with reissues, as we see that is happening a little bit more. Seems like every year we're starting to see more and more movies from the past get a week showing at a theater. Even if the movie's 10, 15, 20 years old, they still can come out and the movies will still make a couple of $1 million. So I don't know if Monsters University did that or not, but anyway, it made about $750 million. My edition, I got this for $1.25 at the library. And it does come in DVD and Blu-ray. The Blu-ray has all the special features on it. It even has an extra disc on here. It's a 3-disc collection. It has a third disc with all the special features on it on Blu-ray, and highly recommend that. DVD features commentary from the producers and the writer. So, all right, that is it for Monsters University. I do know what we're going to be watching next week. It's a first for Dollar Theater. We are going to be reviewing our first Criterion movie. The Criterion films that I have gotten over from the library, this will be my very first one that I've watched and reviewed. And it will be Anora from last year. It was a big winner at the Oscars. I picked up a copy of it at the library, and that will be my first movie that I review. And that will be coming up next week. All right, if you're new to the channel, I do this every Monday. I drop it at 3 o'clock, and by all means, you can come out and hang out with me for the premiere, or you can drop a comment and hit the like button and the sub button, and any and all will be appreciated. That's it for today, and thanks for watching, and we will catch you for the next time. Peace.